How did you just do that?
I'm a really good lawyer.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, of the wonderful world of YouTube, to the very first episode of the Too Long Didn't Watch Show, the show where I, your host Nacho, go and summarize the latest superhero movies and superhero shows to tell you whether or not they are worth your precious viewing time. Now, before anybody starts going and doubting my credibility, just know I'm the kind of person that goes and gets the t-shirts for all this stuff. I go and get the superhero comic books, I get the Funko Pops, I keep all the premiere tickets and stuff, and I watch these movies at least like 4 times over because I like them all. And some of them are really good, but some of them I don't really recommend to a lot of people, unfortunately. So the movie begins with title sequences that are full of movements and colors that don't really match the tone or like the overall vibe of the movie, which kind of make them misleading if you don't really know what you're expecting, or even if you do know what you're expecting, it'll throw you off a little bit because you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't look like anything that would have to do with vampires and like going on vampiric killing sprees because you're like a beast now. But after the title sequences, we are introduced to the characters of Michael Morbius and a little boy named Lucian, who would later become known as Milo, just as a nickname. But Milo and Morbius both have the exact same blood disease, and they live in a Greek orphanage slash hospital kind of thing. But they have the same blood disease, but we don't really know any specifics as to what the disease is, where it comes from, or how to stop it, other than just with constant blood movement via these tiny little blood machines that they give these kids at the hospital. But fast forward 25 years in this movie's timeline, Michael Morbius is now a doctor working alongside Martine Bancroft in Horizon Labs. And Martine is a doctor who doesn't really have a lot of chemistry with Morbius, and she has the whitest name in the history of Latino women. But Morbius has his own laboratory full of diagrams where they don't really make a lot of sense because it's just half a bat and half a human together, like you're supposed to know what the process is, and none of the processes of making the cure really make any sense either. And Milo, now 25 years in the future, is somehow rich after winning a bunch of bets with random Russians, despite Morbius and Milo having grown up in Greece. One weird thing, other than the fact that Morbius can't tie his shoes as a huge fan of origami and as a doctor, is the fact that Milo now somehow can't buy any kind of footwear beyond tennis shoes, despite him having a seemingly lavish lifestyle. I don't know. Maybe it's because walking is kind of hard as a person who has a set expiration date, but I don't know. I've never been that sick. But Morbius ends up asking Milo to fund the development of the cure, and it does happen on a boat that seems to have a lot less medical equipment on it than Horizon Labs, where he started the cure. But Morbius makes the cure, and he becomes the living vampire. He goes on a fit of vampiric rage, goes on a killing spree, and throws up at how monstrous he's become, and now he's addicted to blood. And instead of staying away from the population and just sending everybody back to where they were, he goes right back to where he was and starts testing out his new powers immediately. And he also starts hanging out with his new Bat Brothers Batman Begins style. But Milo finds him mid starvation and mid power trials, and he gets yelled at and told to leave. And instead of trying to improve the serum, Morbius just decides to scrap the whole idea and basically leave his friend to die in the process just because he can't give him the cure because it's a curse. Now, the FBI finally decides to investigate Morbius despite having suspected him the whole time, for good reason, just unknowingly in the beginning. But Morbius is now in jail and he gets visited by Milo. Milo gives him some blood so that he can stay sane, and he also leaves the cane that he uses to walk with to show Morbius that he can walk now because he took the cure and he is now a vampire. But Morbius breaks out of prison and finds Milo going on a huge vampiric killing spree, and he has a stupid amount of control of his blood hunger, and this killing spree is just a huge deviation from what Milo's personality normally is in the movie, which is a normal, kind, friendly kind of person, but now he's just a rampant killer. So, Michael and Milo fight, and Morbius gets a little bit overwhelmed, and so he has to leave, and he regroups with Martine and her cat in a lab that was previously run by counterfeit money producers. And the two, despite having even less chemistry now, fall in love and come up with a plan to cure and inevitably kill Milo. Milo catches on to this plan, and he tries to lure Morbius out of hiding using Martine as bait, and lethally slashes her collarbone as soon as Morbius gets close. Martine, using her dying force, bites her lip and bites Morbius's lip to try and get Morbius to use her blood to fight Milo, and later she gets revived, Breaking Dawn style, like Bella opening her eyes and they're red, but she doesn't get pregnant beforehand, which was odd to say the least. But then Milo and Morbius fight in a New York sewer where Morbius uses the 3,000 nearby New York bats a couple sewer intersections away to defeat Milo, despite Milo also being a vampire and thus sharing that same kind of like bat kinship that Morbius had with all the bats at the beginning of the movie. But Milo ends up getting overwhelmed by 3,000 little bat nibbles and is ultimately cured and killed. And that's where the movie ends for now. Like most Marvel movies, this movie has a couple post-credit scenes. And the post-credit scenes of this movie have to do with the arrival of Adrian Toomes in the Marvel's Sony universe. But that's something I'm going to explain in a different video. Overall, I give this movie a solid 6 out of 10 rating. You should definitely watch it if you haven't seen anything like Twilight, Van Helsing, or Cirque du Freak. And heck, if you like watching man-animal hybrids fight in sewers, I think you should probably just watch the Ninja Turtles. It's a much better experience overall, trust me. But that is it for this episode of the Too Long Didn't Watch show. My episode for the arrival of Adrian Toomes should come out sometime next week. But I want to know your thoughts on this. Do you think that this movie could have been improved anymore? Do you think there is anything that I missed? If you liked this review, please like this video, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Maybe we'll agree, maybe we won't. But the only way that we'll know if we share the same opinions is if we get to know the other side of the coin. So thank you for listening to my side. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.